Hello and welcome to the Memory Arcade. I am currently seated in a precarious manner. One of my cats would only give up so much of the chair, but that's okay. Mario game, it's not rocket science. And, oh, that's a very chill tune. Yeah, we are still playing Mario 3. Saying still like there's anything after this. After this, we're done with All Stars. It's not the version that also had Super Mario World. I should probably revisit Super Mario World at some point because it was the very first game I played on stream, but I also took a shortcut to the Star Road, more of a proof of concept thing, prove to myself that I could do the full streaming thing with confidence, and not so much the whole, yeah, let's do a thorough playthrough that at least contains the main route. Anyway. Mario 3. What is there to say? It is... I'm not sure I would call it a perfect game, but it's up there. The bloopers get cuter, which is honestly a boost they needed. Given our encounters with free-floating overland bloopers in Lost Levels. And yeah, I keep saying I haven't streamed in a while, and that's true, but... Oh shit, I just killed a family. Moving on. I think if you hit it with full P power, you're more or less guaranteed to get a star. Which is irrelevant, because we're playing with infinite lives. It's just one of those fun little tidbits. Yeah, so... I keep saying this, I haven't streamed in a while, and it's true, but also... yeah, I still have some life changes that are kind of just sort of happening. Well, that fishy did me a favor. That one didn't. And I might go into them at some point. It's not something like terrifying or horrible. Like I'm not ill. I'm not going through a breakup. It's just some stuff happening that needs a lot of my energy, and but it could be very positive changes. And I guess also part of the reason I don't wanna discuss it. Oh, thank God, the cat is moving on. I can lean back. Come on. Thank you. But she gave me a chair. She took my concentration. But yeah, it's kind of a situation where I don't want to jinx it or talk too much about it. And also have to share my disappointment if it doesn't work out. So I'm just kind of... What was that? That was the D-pad not behaving in ways that I had intended for it. Starting to think maybe a Sega-style D-pad is not the way to go for a Nintendo game. Darker. Come on, everything about this sucked. Let me just do a quick audio test with the 8-bit 2 and 30. It doesn't trigger the microphone. I honestly have no idea knowing if it's like really obnoxiously loud. It always feels very loud. Oh yeah, no. Just pushed my headphones aside. One of the reasons I didn't really retire the pad, but I also don't use it all that much anymore for streaming. Even though it's, after modifications I did, it's probably the tightest D-pad I have. God damn it! Yeah, no, my hands are still not quite there. Although a Nintendo style D-pad doesn't cause this much of a fuss. Eat it, Sega. That's probably has less to do with the D-pad, more like the SN30 Pro, and I always feel like such a chill when I just spell these 8-bit 2 controller names out, even though I don't even have a sponsorship. They're one of the few companies where I'd be like, yeah, I could suit myself shilling their stuff officially. Like it's good hardware, it's... How am I so bad at this? Dang. Yeah, it's probably more due to the fact that I'm just very accustomed to the way that this bigger controller feels in my hands. The M30 that I just put aside has the classic Mega Drive and Japanese Saturn form factor of not really having grips in the modern sense. So oh. To quote Robin from Dark Knight Returns, didn't suck. Yeah, I think that's pretty much a jackbox to get in this place. Also, I think we have a whole bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, there's multi-page. We have one hammer, and that won't get us through that obvious shortcut down there, so... Can't really use that one. How did I even get a flute? Unclear. Oh, you're coming for me? Oh, it came for me. I mean, shit. My favorite platforms in this entire game. That's when I think Super Mario Bros. 3, no joke, I think of these things. I'm like, athletic theme, music we're currently listening to, and just a whole bunch of these platforms, and my complete panic whenever I'm interacting with them. Fuck. The sheer shock as a kid that you have when the big fish first gulps down Mario, and it doesn't matter you have a power up on or not, you're just gone. The kind of shit where you're staring at the TV slack-jawed like they're actually filming a commercial for the damn thing. The water caught up to me, that's why I couldn't jump properly. Yeah. Anyway, I hope everyone having an okay, at least summer, with heat and everything. What the hell? What the hell? Yeah, no, that mushroom is bad news. I think that mushroom is really predicated on doing something with the turtle as well. Maybe not that. Asamek, do you have a preference regarding Super Mario World versus Mario Bros. 3? And the mushroom is gone. Oh. And the back. If you have a preference regarding the age-old question, Mario Bros. 2 versus Mario Bros. 3 versus Mario World. Like the two classic big Mario games from that era. And apparently people have really strong opinions about this. And I mean, I lean towards Mario World myself simply because I really like Yoshi and the cape, and also I think the Super Nintendo may have been the closest thing I've ever been to a good graphics hound, where it was like, yeah, shit, this looks like the future, this looks like a goddamn cartoon, you know, judging from Turtles in Time, and nice, and that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Mario games occupied this strange space in my childhood, in the sense that my parents also really got into them, particularly my mom. Like, my dad would play a few levels, and he could maybe finish a few levels, but he wasn't that good. My mom, like, would go toe-to-toe with Bowser. Oh, wow. That... I would rewind this, except then I would have to do it again. Every move here just worked. Oh. Oh. This is so much easier. Fuck. Okay. Oh. Yeah, the GameCube was lovely. Also just a really good console to have that first on Nintendo console experience with, because I feel the N64 would have maybe left you wanting. Like I had a friend who had a lot of N64 games, and we played together a lot those days. And incidentally, also a friend that I still play video games with. This can't be it. No. So I guess I didn't quite have the need to get a whole lot of N64 games, and they were also a little expensive. I think at the end, the N64 era, I owned, I think, maybe 5 or 6 cartridges, which is ridiculous. For like an enthusiast. The N64 kind of felt like a bit of a bust, but yeah, our household, again, we played video games together, and Mario games were great, and we enjoyed Mario 64. Oh, I guessed right. A lot of these stages are a lot shorter than you would kind of expect. Like that's certainly something in favor of the game. Like it gets its level idea out of the way, and then it doesn't linger or artificially inflate the challenge or extend it. And yeah, but what was also really big in our household was Zelda and Super Nintendo Squaresoft games. When they came out, when they deigned to release them in Europe. So like Secret of Mana was obviously a big one. I had one import game which was Chrono Trigger, and I missed the boat on Final Fantasy VI, aka 3 in the US. Bit of a shame. Didn't play that one until emulators were a thing. And the point being that the N64 was kind of a not super great follow-up to the Super Nintendo. It's great for action games of all kinds, and the 3D platformer really took off on that. But I'm also not a big fan of the whole collector. Oh, Lakitu! And why am I so happy to see this asshole? Lakitu, you do realize these things are green and they're not opening up. They might not be ripe yet. It's true, but they're supposed to be like little spiky creatures that walk around. It's kind of bizarre. That is true. I feel Lakitu has this I mean, not to belabor cliche here, but you know, that nerd energy to really commit. mean, maybe Lakito's also a fellow ADHD kid who just really gets into the hyperfocus. Anyway, yeah, so the N64, which is not a hot take in the year 2022, that was pretty much a known problem right away. The N64 didn't have the backing of a lot of studios that really made the Super Nintendo sing, and RPGs and Zelda-likes were one of them. And so a lot of folks, myself included, ended up playing a lot more on the PlayStation because I was very lucky that my family had those kind of funds. You know, between allowance and Christmas gifts and maybe a little something extra here and there, we were able to branch out to another console. Oh yeah, I wouldn't call it mafia methods, but there was certainly a little bit of a quasi-monopolistic behavior there. And then also the way they basically fucked over Sony, like the PlayStation famously being intended to be like Nintendo's answer to the Sega CD, like a Super Nintendo add-on, and then I don't even remember what they announced with Sony executives present that basically turned the PlayStation project obsolete, and the PlayStation and the Sony guys were furious to the point where they went home and were like, "We're releasing this as our own shit," and suddenly there was another major player in the console market. Because I guess where would Sony's money have come from at the time? I guess record sales, right? And I guess electronics in general. Like high fidelity systems, all that jazz. Hey, we really want to know, right? Oh, it's actually free movement. I thought this would be more on rails or something. Oh yeah, I had a Sony Walkman. Again, he says without maybe fully contextualizing the upper middle class privilege he had as a kid. That would be good. And maybe it'll hold until we enter the next purple level. I had a Walkman to listen to my Masters of the Universe audio dramas on. What of the level do they let you skip? There's certainly a lot of bonus stuff. Also, kind of surreal to observe that apparently Sony is not doing so hot financially these days. They just raised the price of the PlayStation 5. But you know, sure, supply chains are kind of fucked and chip shortages, but it feels like the thing a company would maybe not do if they had, like, if they were completely rolling in it. I don't think, I mean, maybe they can now because Sony blinked and did it first, but I don't think Microsoft really has a need to increase the price of the Oh, it's auto-scroller. Lovely. I, I don't think we're gonna see the Series X go up price. Oh, okay, that works. Because Microsoft is these days they're a much more diverse company and they can eat a lot of costs or a lot of difficulties. Oh yeah, Discman. That was also. I think at some point I just lost my Discman, which was kind of upsetting back in the day. I think it was towards the tail end of when the Discman was like the thing you kind of wanted to have to listen to your music. Yeah, had to be careful with that, especially since your records, like your albums on disc were your treasures back then. Recently saw a TikTok that was basically just a little love letter to all the analog media. Just a whole lot of taking old media out of boxes, putting it in the respective players, all that kind of stuff. Like, with some lovely editing. And it just hit me just how physical media is just no longer much of a thing. I might actually, if I ever do get a PlayStation 5, not just because of the raised costs, I'd actually opt to get the digital edition, because if it can hold like 10 games at a time and I can expect my internet service to kind of remain what it is, then that 7 gigs download, if it's an anticipated game, it's gonna be preload. Come here. Oh, fair's fair. Yeah, I might actually go fully digital. I mean, I'm doing it on Steam, kind of doing it on the Switch. I still have the option to go for the actual medium on Switch. How much of it? Oh, these little guys. Just a subtle body horror thing with them producing a ball from their mouth that is as big as themselves. Wonder if they are in any way a reference to some kind of Japanese folklore, because the game, as we've discussed before, does a little more, lean more into that with the whole tanuki thing. How to turn a regular area into a death pit. Yeah, I mean, also just extremely limited what I would do with a PlayStation. I have no incentive, absolutely none, to get a Microsoft console because all their exclusives are also on Windows. Boom, that's done. And with with a PlayStation 5, I would be able to play Returnal, the Demon's Souls remake, and Bloodborne. And for Bloodborne, I could also get like a used PS4 if I really wanted it. And From Software games are important to me, as past streams have probably indicated. And I wanna do like more Bloodborne playthroughs. You know, that's something I wanna do with my life. If that statement makes sense at all. But yeah, but again, there's not a whole lot that I absolutely need now that Sony has been releasing the odd exclusive here and there on Windows. Apparently the Spider-Man port is really, really good. And the incentive to get a console, maybe outside of a Nintendo console, it's fading. And there's also that on PC. You can, if you wanna do an archival thing, you can do that, or you can trust the internet to... Oh yeah, it does that. You can trust the internet to do some archival for you. And also make sure that games remain as playable as possible by way of a cracked executable. Which, honestly, if a certain time has passed, the DRM was just really, really shitty, is something I personally wouldn't discourage. And I've been very down on CD Projekt Red for many reasons, especially the treatment of their workers. And maybe it's more of an incidental thing that they own Good Old Games. I don't know if they bought it, if they founded it. Point being, Good Old Games is a good thing. The fact that they still commit to the no DRM thing, and as such, their installation files, if you back them up, you got a backup of your game in a way that Steam or Epic have no provisions for. Not really. Do I have to come up there? Oh. Oh, we got time. Maybe I should get up there. Haunted rods? Oh. Huh. I always kind of saw them as like mattresses. Like they were like spooky things that would then appear in the sheets. Which also, well, bunch of waterlogged mattresses with ghosts in them. That's just uncomfortable. In more than one way. Oh. And we're doing the last one like this. Excellent. But yeah. But I can see the general fatigue with console makers, with the industry in general. I mean, I have my blacklist that I'm more or less able to adhere to, of just developers where just go, no, sorry, they have done X or have associated with Y, and as such, I am no longer comfortable streaming their shit, and might not even do so. Might not even play it privately. Oh, I love how, I guess, a little memory error did this. The game's funky when it comes to loading and unloading stuff. I wonder how much of that is just carryover code from the NES that kind of highlights how strange or yeah, come on. Shit. I think this is another trap. What was it that EA did the other day, where some information leaked that they weren't really prioritizing single-player games anymore because money just wasn't there compared to live services? And of course, then they had to reassure the hardcore that in some earnings call or some such, that, oh no, single-player games are like the artistic backbone of the industry, and we're still committed to that. And just like the exact next segment in that presentation was, oh, by the way, our live services made this many billions of dollars this year. And you're just like, oh yeah, and also the dev teams, and I guess also a lot of, as much as we have maybe like prestige teams in video game development, or prestige individuals, who are probably not thrilled when they hear a big company more or less through the grapevine say, yeah, let the artsy fuckers do whatever. The real money is in loot boxes anyway. Probably it doesn't feel great. Why did that thing evaporate? It's probably not a vine. Not sure why. Maybe it's just for survival. Oh hey! Okay, so the development team came up with an idea, but in the sense that the execs didn't have to encourage that kind of bullshit. Thing is, I can see the application of a lot of these live service ideas. Obviously, with a multiplayer shooter, it is a live service because you're providing servers. And the whole cosmetic monetization is just something you staple on top. Justifiably or not. Huh. Yeah, but did they really though? Or do you think they just fell on their sword? Again, there can be something there, especially like something like SimCity. I could totally see the benefits of yeah, we're making this kind of interconnected in a manner. And we want players to interact with each other on a certain level. Like there's potential for a lot of fun here, but if your primary motivation is always money, then you're just gonna basically miss the woods for all the trees. Yeah. It's a very we didn't tell them to pay us protection. They just kinda came to that realization their own that it would be a good idea. By the way, they still have working hands and knees. Yeah. This one always threw me a little bit because that's a sprite design for Mario World, and of course they may have, you know, backported that for All Stars, and was like, wait, whoa, that doesn't belong here. I may have had the brain of a bureaucrat as a kid. Oh, damn. Oh, yeah. Avoided a little bit of that bullshit. Yeah, we're not saying that you will make the biggest money with these kind of cash grabs, but you totally will. I mean, the way the industry works, very much like on bonuses and all that, is also. It is Wendy or Cooper. Yep. Got me there. The way the industry works with regard to bonuses and also is, yeah, you are not just saying hey, you would make us a lot more money if you dropped the whole video games are art stuff and just made us live service after live service. You're also telling your devs, no, you will make a lot more money. And given the volatility of a lot of the game industry in general, of really expensive places like San Francisco, and the cost of living crisis in general, all that stuff, it's not like holding a gun to your head, because the top earners in these dev teams probably may have some financial security beyond their current gig. I would hope, but maybe that has also eroded to the point of, you know, but also you can also not ask every developer to always be like, yeah, well, I want to tell a good story, while suggestively the Electronic Arts executive just keeps piling cash onto your desk and is like, hey, but live services, am I right? Especially when you then also have stories where single-player games just get fucked anyway. For a while it was unnecessary multiplayer components, some kind of meddling anyway, focus testing up the wazoo. I don't quite remember what the problem with Mass Effect Andromeda was, because that one kind of bombed and set the franchise back quite a bit. But just even when you're making a single-player, big-budget video game, you're not safe from industry bullshit. And then you also have weird stuff where either maybe the studio executives, for the like say at Respawn Entertainment, either have enough clout, or are just more liked or whatever, or making enough money to be able to afford it. I don't know. Stuff where you hear that, at Respawn Entertainment, for the continued support of Apex Legends, the studio heads refused to employ crunch. And it's one of the very few stories, like industry stories, where I've heard that a studio was just like, nope, we're not crunching. In a game that kind of competes with Fortnite, famous for its nasty crunch, to get all those content updates out. And at that point, as a dev of storytelling heavy stuff, you're just kind of like, you even can get decent living conditions in the live service space, huh? Well, fuck. New devs completely inexperienced project and team leads. Yeah, and then you get an overly tight schedule, you kind of have to crunch, and I guess it probably also takes a certain team lead to even tolerate or encourage crunch in their own studio, because you're kind of... Slave driver is not a good term, because it appropriates an experience that is not that. But you're a cruel taskmaster. You're cruel to the people who work for you, that you have barbecues with and whatnot. And I would hope that these people are capable of that are still somewhat rare, or at least not completely a dime a dozen. Did they build this on the Frostbite engine? You know, which Electronic Arts owns? So wild to me that Apex Legends runs on Source. Heavily modified Source engine, obviously, but like, wow, that thing just doesn't die. Oh, so it was more or less the in-house engine for Andromeda, and they still couldn't get the right support, because what even is running a company, huh? A thought that I started, as I want to do earlier and didn't quite finish. It is quite surreal to have grown up with certain companies being just kind of these big shots and superpowers in the media space. And then you see stuff like Sony apparently struggling for money, or Warner Brothers being completely sold for, well, not sold for parts yet, but they're getting there. Just a complete and absolute shit show. Where you also just at some point realize, yeah, no, nothing is sacred in that system. It's all about the weird high score everyone wants to accumulate on their bank account. Yeah. And for some people, it will really just be that their footnote in history, that there will be a footnote in history known for, oh yeah, burnt Warner Brothers to the ground, including, you know, everything that decades have associated with it. And I'm not trying to stand the Warner Brothers brand. It's a media conglomerate. But the whole idea of, yeah, the logo with the big shield and Bugs Bunny and certain movies that you would just kind of have in mind. Not even DC stuff, just Warner Brothers at its core, and you're just like, huh, that kind of completely shit-canned, and everything associated was bullshit for a long, long time. And you're just... It is kind of surreal. Maybe that's the Gen Xer in me, where even Batman and Robin couldn't like really threaten the company associated with it. And I think the Battlefront 2 situation was really more because they really get real greedy with the microtransactions. I mean, it is technically the scepter of one of the quote-unquote kings of this here kingdom, so probably try and focus on finishing. I mean, maybe I'm just not up on my media empire history here, and maybe Batman and Robin was one of those things that led to the whole IOL Time Warner thing, which then led to you know, but yeah. And to say nothing of the fact that Disney now owns just so much stuff. I think Fox was the for me was this watershed moment where I was like, oh, they bought Fox, like everything Fox. Yeah, not Fox News. That's something else. Ah, shit. Because they would probably have maybe put a clamp on some of the more popular stuff. Maybe. But just the idea of, okay, Fox, how many movie franchises was that? Oh, Alien. Alien now belongs to Disney. Interesting fit. And so on and so forth. Sure, a little bit. I'm also a little bit of, yeah, comic book nerd, and the idea that, oh, except for, I think, maybe the motion picture rights for the Hulk, now everything's back at Marvel, rights-wise, and I wish they had just plonked enough money down. And the shared custody thing with Sony over Spider-Man stuff. I wish at some point they just put enough money on the table to just outright buy back all these licenses. Instead of, you know, buying the world, or, you know, the world cultural heritage, or at least American culture wholesale. Because Disney owns too much stuff. And it's very capable of shaping our perception of culture and society in ways that is a little scary, a little dystopian, not gonna lie. Come on. Fuck that. Yeah, that's the thing. They own too much stuff, and they are also very comfortable of maybe not having any values whatsoever. Like, they have to be basically hounded into taking any kind of stand on, say, on behalf of LGBT matters, and are also comfortable with, or up until recently were very comfortable with cutting out bits of gay and queer representation from their movies for certain territories where that shit doesn't fly politically. Which, fuck that. Fuck that lack of courage and that absolute absence of any kind of values whatsoever. Oh yeah, no. And the thing is, I tried rewatching the prequels somewhat recently. They're still garbage. Like, I can find things, bits and pieces at all, but the movies on many levels don't work. Hayden Christensen, I think, is a decent actor. Like, all the stuff he did on Obi-Wan was decent. But that poor kid apparently didn't get direction. That got fuck all the direction from George Lucas. And if the main character and tragic figure of your saga comes across as just complete crap, like not even an unlikable character, but a character you're just not buying into, period. Yeah. Now, George Lucas has directed one good Star Wars movie, and that one was largely saved in the edit by his, at the time, wife, which was the very first one, Episode 4. And some of the animated stuff is pretty decent. What I've seen of it was decent. I think Rebels. I think the guy who did the animated stuff, Filoni, is it Dave Filoni? Anyway, one of the rare people who can wear a cowboy hat anytime and not look like an asshole. He's also now doing a lot of work on Mandalorian and the upcoming Ahsoka show, which is basically then gonna be a spin-off of his animated stuff, and that stuff was apparently really good. I haven't watched Clone Wars. I watched a little bit of Rebels. That was fun. I really enjoyed the big Darth Vader sequence at the end of season 1 or 2 of Rebels, which really leaned into the fact that regular folks don't know that Darth Vader even exists in the Empire. More of a Black Ops and wet work agent. And they drop all kinds of heavy stuff on him. And he just force lifts his way out of there and just comes after them Michael Myers style, like a slow but steady slasher villain. And they're like, what is this thing? And it was just, yeah, way to give this old villain, who can't be that involved here story-wise because it's not the story of his family and whatnot, a really fun and cool moment without, you know, going overboard and making him do shit that would be completely out of character or overblown. And the recent Obi-Wan show did pretty similarly. Like, Darth Vader acts a little more brash and reckless than he does in the original movies. But this is also like 10 years before the movies, and he still has beef with his old master. So a little bit of that uncouth, cocky asshole is still in there. And yeah. And I was kind of hoping for Rogue One to end like that, because I already knew going in, spoilers, the main cast of Rogue One. Many Boffins died, and I guess those were Boffins. Oh wait, no, Boffins was in episode 6. Anyway, main cast of Rogue One doesn't make it. And I was kind of hoping when they started introducing Vader as a secondary villain for the movie that he would do like a Michael Myers thing and just kill all the main characters in creative, horrifying, and stoic ways. And that didn't happen. They just kind of died in little tragic bits of soldiering, and which was okay. And it's one of those things where you kind of develop an idea or a headcanon or a hope or expectation for something, and then you're just really disappointed when it doesn't happen. And that's not really the movie's fault. So that was my movie-going experience with Rogue One, where I was like, they could have used Vader more. Kind of like that. We got this big fan service scene, where he kills off a bunch of randos. in a way that is maybe a little over the top compared to his original antics, but still fitting in the sense that he doesn't suddenly do flying jump kicks or whatever, but just very, very much heavy, both feet planted on the ground, very methodical use of the force, all that stuff. Also, something I really enjoyed about the sequel trilogy with Rey is that the lightsaber fights once again had a level of weight, and they felt more like European broadsword fighting than, say, Asian wuxia. And which is not to say that Asian or Chinese wuxia cinema isn't cool. It's heckin' cool, but you need to also, in order to make such fights have emotional weight, you need to also shoot and edit them in a certain way, and the way the prequels kind of leaned into more extravagant choreography, I think a little bit at the expense of the idea of these people are having a duel for their lives right now, and there's a lot of stake. And that first encounter between Kylo Ren and Rey in that snow-covered forest, where he's a little bit slowed down by an injury, and she's just kind of doing her intuitively good at a lot of things thing, and was also emotionally charged because Han Solo had just died. It felt like a really cool duel. That's the kind of stuff where you're like, oh, yeah, no, good. Star Wars can have really good character-driven fights again. And ultimately, the sequel trilogy didn't quite stick the landing, but I did enjoy it a lot more than the prequels. That is true, yeah. And also, the sound of the lightsaber conveys a certain heaviness, as opposed to it being just a beam of energy. Like the very deep whoop, whoop. You don't put that much bass into a sound effect if you don't want to convey something with it. And which is not to suggest that these things are actually heavy, but they're very powerful. So you wield them with a lot of respect for that power. Yeah. It's also the fact that I think Robot Chicken did a really good joke about this, where on some bigger ship or the Death Star or something, one of the characters drops a lightsaber, and of course it just melts through everything. Like, you can just hear the screams of people on every deck going, "What the fuck? Oh my god, it hit the daycare!" Something like this. Also, another thing that should absolutely have a Deadman switch. Or a Deadman switch off. Yeah, that was actually decent-ish in episode 1, where Liam Neeson's character cuts a blast door. And he does it with his lightsaber, but it's still a very thick blast door. And he has to... Oh, thank God. And he plays it kind of like he also has to use the force and a lot of concentration to make sure that he's using the sword correctly to absolutely get the result he needs. Like, it doesn't go through the thing like butter, but more like, I have to be careful here. This guy kind of looks familiar. Oh, are we now in... We're now in Giant Land? Aww. I sometimes wonder about a prequel trilogy. By the way, I think this is the world in Mario Bros. 3 that is where the game just kinda next levels itself compared to the original. And I enjoy it a lot. Even though it's just bigger sprites, but you know, it's really cool. Yeah, sometimes I wonder about a prequel trilogy that never was, like, what if, say, they had a line on Hayden Christensen for the first movie, and had cast him... cast him as a younger teen, or however old he was when when episode 1 was made. Instead of leaning into the cutesy kid factor, you have a cocky teen. That would already fix so many issues with you don't really have a progression towards the dark side until the second movie. You can already have him be unhappy about his living situation and resentful about his mom maybe not doing enough, or, in his opinion, the wrong things to address that or deal with the fact that they're slaves. You can make the whole flirty thing between Amidala and, like, the fact that there is supposed to be a love story between those two a whole lot less awkward. Stuff like that. Or what if they hadn't dropped... What if Jar Jar Binks had been at least a little more sensitive in, you know, in terms of the whole cultural thing, and they hadn't dropped the character unceremoniously for episode 2, but actually developed that character into, like, maybe a tragic figure. Like someone who gives their lives in episode 3 at the 11th hour. Yeah, I think the whole idea that, yeah, we want to start them young with their parents' consent. God damn it. Want to start them as young as possible. I think that's still a valid point to make, but if you have someone who's just really powerful, whether you just do a vibe check or the dumb midichlorian thing or whatever, you can't just leave. You can't just say, no, we're not training this guy. Because, like, if the idea is, oh, this guy could be potentially more powerful than guys like Yoda, what do? Do you just throw him in a hole? Oh, they do that, yeah. Like, you ought to train it, or you can hand him to the Siths right away, right? Hey. I mean, they didn't really believe that the Sith were back at that point in the story, maybe. But still, the whole idea of having, like, a rogue Force user of substantial potential out there, unaccounted for, unsupervised, and untrained. I mean, much has been written about just how stupid every decision of the Jedi Council was during those movies. And I agree. It's also just really bad writing. like the idea that they maybe got complacent and in a little decadent or set in their ways, sure, go with that. But you can do that without them making absolutely bonkers decisions. I don't fully remember how all of the stuff in the first two Witcher seasons worked out, but that's an example. The Council of Mages, or whatever it is, that magic organization, magic user fraternity that they have there. They're a good example of a very flawed institution that doesn't completely shit the bed at every turn. They still make decisions and perform actions that kinda make sense in certain contexts. And even though they're like the show makes it very clear that they're a stagnant, very sexist, very flawed old boys club. You can still kind of see why they're still around and are calling the shots in many ways, and are, you know, providing the council for pretty much every king who considers themselves, you know, someone in that world. And the idea that ultimately it was the Jedi Council's fault, and maybe in no small part Yoda's, that everything went to hell. You can work that into a great story. And when George Lucas talks about his inspirations, and I still believe Lucas is a phenomenal idea guy. He just really needs someone to tell him no on occasion, or maybe don't know how Lucas takes to feedback, period. Or maybe like, yeah, but what about this? Because then this connects to that, and you know, just someone who who provides good punch up to those ideas. Because George Lucas famously said that he doesn't consider Palpatine's rise like a allegory for like the Third Reich or something, but more about the rise of Augustus. In the sense that it was a much more storied and, I guess, some point, way more functional democracy that was completely subverted by a dictator. Which is kind of like, sure, the Third Reich and everything is terrible and fairly fresh on our minds as a culture and a species, but the Weimar Republic was a shit show that didn't last very long and was very dysfunctional pretty much for its entire run. And so, yeah, the way the Roman Republic fell to a dictatorship, when you look at it, it's you can see it plain as day and how all that shit came about. But at the same time, it's still the scarier premise of like a really old republic with a lot of history to that effect. Just, yeah. Disintegrating. Not just because of Augustus or Julius Caesar, but a lot of stuff that happened over a long time. And yeah, that's a very rich vein of allegorical history to draw from, and that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, no, George Lucas has great ideas. to clarify, he did also draw from recent American history, like George Bush and the Patriot Act, particularly in episode 3, and a lot of the way a lot of the imagery and atmosphere of like this terrifying change happening, the way episode 3 is kind of the best of the bunch, grading on a curve, but still, a lot of that is probably also due to him just being angry at the way his country was, to an extent, also disintegrating. So yeah, I think my take on the prequels is that if they had... Wow, just one? Okay. If a few writing decisions had been very different, and if George Lucas maybe hadn't directed episode 2 or 3, or maybe all 3 of them, and had just served as a producer and, you know, story consultant and, as a writer, as a producer, and technical overseer, because he clearly was very interested always in the technical aspects of these movies, so... yeah. That looked way more intentional than it was. Yeah. Again, great idea. Has really cool conceptual stuff, and probably someone... Oh, they turn around now. That's terrifying. And someone you keep in the loop, but someone you can also... You're allowed to say no to, and whose material is not above refining or improving upon. In a way, the Clone Wars are kinda like that, a little, I guess. In the sense that Filoni had a lot of leeway on how to do that, and had basically just what the prequels provided as fundamentals. Oh god. Yeah, General Grievous was also weird. Like, it's not unheard of that Star Wars occasionally introduces stuff where you're just like, huh? Like, you can watch the original trilogy and get to episode 6 and be like, who's Jabba? Because Jabba gets name dropped like twice in the original cuts of the original movies. But they still introduce Jabba properly in episode 6, and really cool villain, and history was made and everything. And General Grievous just came in at like the 11th hour in the prequel trilogy, and it didn't happen. I was like, who's this guy? Why do we have a coughing robot? Oh, I guess he's a cyborg. Okay, but what's his deal? And his mannerisms are kind of cool, and he seems to have a lot of beef with the Jedi and whatnot. But he's not as self-explanatory as a morbidly obese crime boss. Are you talking about the traditional animation, where he has that really cool fight scene? Or the 3D animated series that would then go on for several seasons and generally tell a really decent story. Yeah, no, I watched that one too, and at the very least, Grievous certainly, like the coolness factor was definitely backed up there. Pardon the pun. God. Yeah, also Mace Windu. Like, Mace Windu in the movies is okay. They got Sam Jackson to play a Jedi. That's cool. And he delivers his lines with a lot of conviction and earnestness and whatnot. But other than that, you're just kind of like, yeah, has he contributed anything to the story? Like, he seems to be kind of important on the council, but then we also never learn how council's organized, other than, I guess, Yoda gets to have the last word. It's odd for the Jedi in certain ways. No! Ah. Preview to World 7. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really good use of minimalism to convey that this thing's not gonna be around for, like, its existence is kind of conditional. Oh! This one stretches Mario's jumping ability to the absolute maximum. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Believe me, it's that has happened to me. Oh. This place is just full of secrets. Hello? Let's see if that pipe thingy is optional. But also, maybe, just maybe. Okay, I'm curious. Really? That can't be everything. Hmm. It? No. Hmm. I know that guy. Both the late and great Dennis Hopper. Monkey. Wasn't true then, not true now. Oh, speaking of companies with shitty work practices, it just occurred to me that maybe playing a Nintendo game is, in light of current news, not the best way to go about things. Given that apparently the work culture at Nintendo of America is hot garbage and wildly sexist. And yeah, I'm just gonna use this Mario stream to talk about how you probably shouldn't give Nintendo money for a while. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that really rubbed me wrong, but I think what took the cake was the idea that they have this weirdly two-tiered employee system between like blue badge and red badge employees, and only the folks with the red badges have like a permanent employment, and the other ones are basically just temps who really hope that one day they might get a red badge. The unspoken rule on that campus is, or was, hopefully isn't anymore, or not for much longer, that if you're a woman with a blue badge, it really pays to show deference to a man with a red badge. And that's just... yeah. That's just fuck everything. Was that Lemmy? I think was that Lemmy or Iggy? I keep confusing them. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Oh, and Nintendo really needs to do some house cleaning there. But also, have we ever heard of a company that size that has done a proper job? I mean, I had to, right? It quote-unquote cleaning house? I mean, sure. Like examples like Ubisoft seem or Activision, they seem particularly resistant to change and would rather counter-sue and, you know, and whatnot. But is there like a success story of, yeah, this company had a really toxic work culture, but they turned things around, and now just about anyone says, yep, it's a great place to work there now for any gender, color, or creed. Because that's the other thing. The whole risk-averse corporate culture that is so ingrained in our society now just doesn't do this kind of change. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's nothing encourages it. Like for a bunch of good old boys in among the higher ups, it's always more lucrative and, you know, also necessary, I guess, from a self-preservation standpoint, to sweep shit under the rug and relocate abusers rather than showing them the door. Oh no. The center of the earth, I guess. Come on. If the brick doesn't hit you, you shouldn't hit me. Yeah. I think I could imagine that the AB key corporate culture will just gradually change after the Microsoft merger, simply by Microsoft being like, no, cut this shit out. We're a boring company. You're gonna be boring now too. And that's, but you know, boring in the sense that we don't want these kind of headlines, so cut that shit out. Again, corporate culture also not really being incentivized to have any kind of morals that they actually believe in, but rather something that is performative. A little bit like a Dexter Morgan-esque serial killer, if you think about it. It mimics human morality in order to, for the sake of PR. Yeah, that's true. I have a lot of hopes tied to unionization these days, because a lot of our elected officials don't really work for us, but rather the people who bankroll their campaigns and give them all kinds of perks. So if our vote at the ballot doesn't really count or counts in ways that is underwhelmingly little, and the next step really is powerful unions. A Tanuki sued. This is already a Sky World? Huh. Anyway, I would love to keep chatting, I would love to keep playing, but it's getting really warm in here. My voice is starting to go, and we're coming up on 2 hours, so I would say I will call this a stream, and I will call this. Thank you all for watching. I will leave you with all my links, where you can find the VOD archive on YouTube, my social media presence and also oh yeah, the tip jar over in Kofi. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks particularly to Azimek for chatting. Had some lovely convos, and I appreciate it. Like I don't mind a stream where I'm just kind of by myself, but I also really appreciate it when I'm not just shouting into the void. And yeah, everyone take care of yourself. Have a fantastic weekend. I don't know when I'm gonna do another stream. I'll try to do them more often again. But you know, like I said at the beginning, some life changes, not bad life changes, but they take up a lot of my energy, and that has to come from somewhere. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.